My dad tracked every calorie I ate and weighed me daily for years, until I served him everything all at once. After I had my first period, my father got obsessed with turning me into a Miss Universe candidate. He said the only way for me to succeed in life would be to stay under 110 pounds and marry rich before gravity catches up. First, he gave me reasonable guidelines like eat your vegetables and no snacks after 8. But within 6 months, he was weighing my portions on a digital scale and making me photograph every bite that entered my mouth. He even made me practice dinner date etiquette, where I had to eat tiny bites in front of a mirror while he critiqued my chewing. When boys from school called, he'd grab the phone and tell them I was still under construction and to try again when I hit my goal weight. When my period was late because I'd lost too much weight, he accused me of being pregnant and demanded I take 3 tests in front of him. I still remember how I fainted during PE class, and he told the school nurse I was being dramatic for attention. Then he made me do extra cardio that night because no rich man wants a wife who makes scenes. He even installed a lock on our refrigerator that only he had the code to and changed it daily so I couldn't memorize it, saying midnight snacks would ruin my market value. The night everything changed started when my father decided my 13-year-old sister Millie was ready for her transformation into wife material. We were sitting at the kitchen table when he placed a food scale and a pageant application in front of her, explaining she'd start her diet tomorrow. But Millie had always been fiercer than me and stood her ground. I'm not starving myself to be some rich guy's trophy. My father's face went from calm to explosive within seconds. I won't have fat daughters who die alone. He screamed it so loud that we both flinched. I don't care. I'd rather be fat than married to someone like you, Millie shouted back, but he was already moving toward her. The back of his hand connected with her face so hard she fell sideways off her chair and hit the tile floor with a crack. It felt like my entire body locked up in that instant. No man will ever want you with that attitude. He actually looked proud. That's when I realized that he wasn't grooming us for success. He was packaging us for sale. I helped Millie to my car and drove straight to my boyfriend Luke's house while she held paper towels to her bleeding mouth. When we got to Luke's house, he and his 2 older brothers were playing a game in the living room, and all of them gasped when I walked in with Millie. Luke took one look at my sister's busted lip and jumped off the couch like he was ready to fight whoever did this. You see, I'd always hidden the abuse from Luke since I thought it would end once I moved out, but now I needed to protect my sister in any way possible. So I told him everything. My father's food rules, the weighing rituals, and the years of starvation. You've been hiding this from me for 2 years, and now he's doing it to her? This can't go on. I won't let him. I nodded, and we made a plan while Millie held ice to her face. Tomorrow night, I'll take Millie to a movie. You know where I live. I barely slept that night because I kept seeing Millie's blood on my father's floor and hearing his voice saying she'd learned respect. The next evening, I told my father Millie and I were going to see a movie and we'd be back late. He barely looked up from his food scale, just grunted that we better not eat theater popcorn. I drove Millie to our aunt's house instead and waited. Luke and his brothers knocked on our front door at 8 p.m. and my father answered it, thinking we had just forgotten our keys. My boyfriend told me exactly what they did to him when I called later. The moment my father opened the door and saw them, he tried to slam it shut, but Luke's foot was already in the way. They pushed inside and the older brother grabbed his wrist before he could reach for his phone. They dragged him to the kitchen where all his precious food scales and measuring cups waited. They didn't beat him up because they didn't need to. Instead, they held him down at his own kitchen table and fed him like a baby. Spoonfuls of sugar straight from the bag, handfuls of chips he'd thrown away when Millie bought them, bread with thick layers of butter, chocolate bars, cookies, and even all the expired Halloween candy he'd confiscated over the years. Luke said my father was crying by the 3rd candy bar, begging them to stop and saying he'd be sick. You've already been sick for years, Luke told him while his brother held another spoonful of frosting to his lips. Now swallow. They made him eat until he was sobbing on his kitchen floor. The same man who measured every grain of rice was covered in melted chocolate and tears. Before they left, Luke's older brother knelt beside him and said very clearly, every time you think about controlling what your daughters eat, remember how this felt, because we'll come back, and next time we'll bring more. He never brought that up because I guess he was terrified of explaining how 3 men had force-fed him junk food and never laid a hand on either me or Millie ever again.